Welcome in. We're going to cover something here on Twitter today. We're going to cover Bitcoin, right? So the big question is, where do I see Bitcoin going, right? So that's kind of what my guy Max is asking. And we covered a video a couple of days on TikTok about where Bitcoin was going, and we kind of just went over the basics, right? So the basics for Bitcoin, when you chart out Bitcoin, just like I told you guys 5 days ago, before the ETF, back in January and December, January 5th, January 7th. I told you guys that once the ETF was approved, Bitcoin would fall back down because they're not going to invest into something just because it's approved on an ETF. It's a better decision. I'll go in that a little bit later into the video, but I want to show you guys a very simple technique. If you want to know what Bitcoin is going to do, you just go back to the original time frames. Go back to 2021. Go to your daily chart on your trading view, and when you go back to your daily chart and your trading view, you go back to the January section, and we can see right here in January, when 2021 came about, we had a move in January where January 1st came in, there was a pump until January 10th, then it came all the way down until January 28th, and then from 28th, it went on a big run until April 15th, or March in that area, April 15th, and that's going to be tax season. Then there's a big pullback to tax season, one last hurrah, and then we have the big summer dump. That happens every single year. That does not change. Doesn't matter what you think. Even if the market has money, it will do that same routine because this is called a market cycle, right? So when all these people are telling you, yeah, Bitcoin to 100,000, there's not enough time for Bitcoin to get to 100,000 because the market cycle is already finished, right? So if any influencers are telling you that to get Bitcoin, this is the time to buy Bitcoin, there's a rainbow chart, the rainbow chart is never wrong, you might want to reconsider who you're taking advice from and make sure that you get multiple opinions so that you can actually get better information to understand how it works. So now if we go back to where we're at based on what we know from previous years, we can see that Bitcoin is following the same pattern. We can see that January came out, and in January there was a fluctuation right here, December 28th, January 1st. There was a pump until when? January 9th, January 10th, and now we're in a dump. That dump normally pulls back about 33%. If we margin that pullback to where we're at from there, the target would be 35,300. Now, there are some trend lines inside of here, and those trend lines are marked off. The first trend of support is 39,900. That's being broken. The second trend line would be the moving average. The 200 moving average will come across, probably hit about 37,200, right? So this is the normal platform for the pullback. And then after that, we should go on a run. Now, the question is, how far will Bitcoin go back? Well, Bitcoin's going to fall until January 27th, 28th, and then it'll start its reversal. So how far is that going to go? Well, if I'm a market maker, then I want it to be further than the support, which it is, because that's where everyone's going to do what? Put their buys, and they're going to become bag holders. Then the next support is going to be the liquidity grab at 37,200, which is where smart traders would really put their buy-ins, right? Because they always ask for a better entry, right? So that would be the other part of the buyers. And then the super buyers would be going off the 200 moving average, and they'd be searching for 35,700 because they're going to be patient and they're going to wait for confirmation of a reversal on Bitcoin, because sometimes market makers will draw it all the way down to the full trend line, which is actually sitting at around 34,000, 35,000. So Bitcoin has all these targets to hit, and smart traders are the ones who know they have to wait for confirmation and they need to wait for things to rally, right? So those are your targets for Bitcoin. Now, what were you saying, Max? You were talking about, where you're waiting on. You're thinking about Bitcoin. So when you think of Bitcoin, man, what are you thinking? Are you thinking the ETFs are going to make it move higher? Or you think it's going to find support, or what do you think?
Well, the last bull run, it was because people, the regular people get money from the government for free, and they put it on Bitcoin. But this time is a different kind of thing. Like the banks want to put money into Bitcoin and crypto, and yeah, the push up will be different. I don't think the shit coins and stuff like that will go high, but maybe the bigger coins like Bitcoin, Solana, and Ethereum, those will go up. But the other ones, other small coins, maybe not.
So let me ask you, man. So so you're on the right track, right? Now I just want to kind of like educate you a little bit of how you have to expand your mind, right? You have to become like a real investor. Okay. So in 2021, there was a spike that we've never seen before in crypto. It was a gambling spike because people were getting into crypto because it was trending. So anything that trends, people put money in. It's like a lottery, right? People love the lotto. Plus, they had extra money from the government. Amazon was making 400% more profits because people were just buying anything on Amazon and they were just sending it because instead of making 400 bucks a week working, they were making 1,200 bucks every 2 weeks and not even going to their job. So they had no money spent on gas, lunch, travel, time. All they had was money coming in the mail, and they could put it in crypto, and they can gamble, and they can see guys go from 1,000 bucks to 100,000. I've seen guys take 1,000 to 100,000 to 4 or 5 times. I mean, so there's a lot of gambling out there where people made a lot of money, and now that gambling, that money's gone, right? So now what you're thinking is now the banks are the second narrative to this run. So 2021 was the run of the retail investor. And now because of the ETFs, you think it's going to be where the banks dump all their money into Bitcoin because it's time to buy. Is that what you're thinking?
Exactly, because the other way, I mean, the regular people don't have money, and the only thing is the investors and the bank.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. All right, so this is kind of like normal narrative, right? These are people thinking, right? And I like you because you're a smart guy. You find a lot of things in crypto. You do a lot of research. You're on Satoshi's block. You're on Satoshi, things. So you do a lot of research in crypto. So you're educated in crypto. So what you don't understand is this, right? Okay, so in 2021, retail investors FOMOed into a market because it was the lotto. Now you're thinking because retail investors are completely broke that it would be the best time for banks to get into crypto because nobody has any money. So they would be buying at the cheapest level. But you have to understand that Bitcoin isn't at its cheapest level. The cheapest level of Bitcoin is 15,000. It's currently sitting at 40. So the bank has already missed the first pump. You see what I'm saying? So if you're a bank or a hedge fund, right, or an investing, every bank has an investing arm, right? They all have investors. So if I was an investor and I was advising a bank to buy Bitcoin, do you think that I would buy Bitcoin after it pumped, or do you think that I would wait for the summer pullback?
Of course, the pullback, but I was guessing that when it was on 15,000, that some of the banks already buy some Bitcoin in, and now they are playing just with us,
Yeah,
ETF narratives
I mean, what,
profit dumps, just
isn't that what they do? Isn't that what they do? They create FOMO and then they dump on you and they get more money and then they dump on you and they create bag holders.
but
Bag holders are the stair to heaven, right? Like you guys got to understand that people who buy FOMO and buy at the wrong time are the stairs to heaven for the bankers, right? They want to build floors and people are the floor, right? They want you in at a higher level so they can step on you. They want to sell on top of you to compound and put more pressure on you, right? And they want to use more money to make more money, right? That's what they do. So yeah, do you think, okay, that's what I was going to get to is like, do you really think that banks that were thinking about the ETF weren't already buying Bitcoin? Right. And let me ask you, like, so when people say, well, they can't really buy Bitcoin because that was against the regulations. Well, let me ask you something. Do you think they were buying Bitcoin or do you think they were buying the stock of companies that mine Bitcoin? Right? Because if I was a bank and I was investing and I was a hedge fund and I was investing, wouldn't I just buy the shares of the mining companies really cheap before Bitcoin started to push and then sell the stocks of the mining companies to get more money to buy more shares of the mining companies so that I could eventually just buy the mining companies? Why would I buy Bitcoin when I can mine Bitcoin for $1,600 for $16,000? So if I was a hedge fund, right? Do you think that Vanderbilt, and all these big guys are going to go, yeah, let me just buy Bitcoin? Don't you think that, you know, don't you think that BlackRock would probably just become a miner? Don't you think they would just buy the miners? Why would you buy Bitcoin at 40,000 when you can buy a mining stock and just mine Bitcoin for 16,000? I mean, how come every influencer that talks on TikTok and Twitter, right? How many guys have explained to you that hedge funds will not buy Bitcoin? They will buy stocks in the mining company and they will buy the Bitcoin from the miners, not the open market. Has anybody told you guys that? Have you heard that? You're on everything. So you guys are all over TikTok,
Really?
Twitter. Has anybody mentioned that? Has anyone came across
Yeah,
that?
I have. I think I got most of these influencers in my list, but there is no one which can give you the financial, financial information and the backgrounds. What I get from the VC, that's totally different view of the crypto market, and I don't know why all of them not coming in the class to learn. I mean, this information, how this financial system works and how the money flows into
Yeah. I
going
mean,
out.
and that's why I like,
Yeah, this is golden information.
yeah, and I'm streaming this information because I used to just talk on TikTok and I never streamed it, I never recorded it. And then a month later, I would see all the influencers saying what I said, right? And then acting like they were ahead of the game. They're not ahead of the game. I've always been 3 to 4 months ahead of everyone. I told everyone NFTs were going to be hot way back in January of 2021 before they became hot. I told everyone that Dogecoin was going to blow up way before anybody bought Dogecoin. So it's the understanding of how narratives and how trends work, right? And also the inner workings of business. No hedge fund, no BlackRock is going to buy Bitcoin. They're going to buy the stocks into Bitcoin. Then they're going to dump the shares of the Bitcoin miners. And then they're going to buy more shares. And what they're going to do is when they take the ownership of these stocks, they're going to talk to the miners and say, hey, listen, we want to buy 300 million Bitcoin. And since we own 30% of the company, we're going to override you in the boardroom. And we're going to sell the Bitcoin to BlackRock at $20,000 a coin, even though it's on the market for 40 or 36. And BlackRock's going to be able to purchase 300 million plus or whatever they need to get, and they're going to put it onto their bank statements for the people that are buying the ETFs. And then they're going to already created 50 a double up of their money. So if they put 100 million in there, it's worth 200 million. And the people that are in the ETFs taking a portion of the profits are taking a small portion of what they've already made. They've already doubled their money. Now they'll be able to continue to do that. And what's going to happen is as Bitcoin mining starts to get into a situation where the halvening comes and mining becomes harder to do and less profitable, that means that the cost of Bitcoin also has to go up to 100 grand. So when you mine a Bitcoin, it's worth 25,000, right? And at that point, they're still going to buy. So when people say, well, what about mining? Is it going to double? Well, yeah, if it costs you $30,000 to make a Bitcoin, but it's on the market for 100,000, if you own the stock in the company, why wouldn't you just mine it yourself? You're making 150% on everything you move, or at least 100% every time you sell one of your ETFs of Bitcoin. You don't think BlackRock already thought of this? You don't think, you know what I'm saying? Like this is how I would do it, right? That's what I would do, right? And I'm sure if I'm going to do that, I'm sure there's probably somebody in BlackRock that thought of something like this, right? So, I don't, so there's a lot of companies out there like, I don't know if you guys know, but like BlackRock, um, like all these investing firms, they'll hold contests or like they'll ask traders, investors to submit their ideals or how to trade. And if you can create profitable trades for them, they'll actually hire you into their trading form, right? So there's a lot of times I've talked to a couple guys at the bigger things where they would say, man, if you give us investments and stuff like that, you can make a lot of money. The problem is I'm not a big fan of BlackRock. I'm not a big fan of these companies because there's no power sharing, right? The last thing I want to do is make a conglomerate, a bigger conglomerate. This is why I like crypto, because in crypto, if I educate you, you can become BlackRock. If I educate you, we can become a civilian hedge fund. right? And then once we have the civilian hedge fund, we can dominate a market because we are the market. The difference between a hedge fund is that they're market makers. The people are the market. You can only make what we allow them to make. And once we learn to remove emotional decisions and we start realizing that we want to buy and sell what we want to buy and the projects that we want to build and the projects that make sense for the people or what we want to create, then it doesn't matter how they try to manipulate us or try to create emotional trading. We only build what is best for the people. Now, that's how we'll get freedom in the next decade. But until we educate ourselves that people need to be for people, we will not get where we need to get, right? And that's why I come on TikTok. That's why I come on Twitter. It's because when I'm listening to all these people that are so-called, influencers, it's like they're talking and all they're doing is reading reports from, JP Morgan and the news and MSNBC, but they don't know what it means, right? So you can listen to Jimi Hendrix, but do you hear Jimi Hendrix? You don't hear Jimmy, right? You can listen to a lot of things, man, but do you hear it? Right? So that's the important. That's why I started making videos, because 4 years ago I used to talk about crypto, and then every influencer would talk about what I already said and act like they came up with it. They're not that intelligent, guys. Now, you need to learn to think for yourselves and understand how to create or understand what's going to happen. Do you think BlackRock's really going to buy Bitcoin at 40,000 when they can just buy it from a miner for 15 or 16,000? Come on, you think a miner isn't going to give BlackRock $300 million worth of Bitcoin at 20,000? Come on. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
The only thing I think the only they are now doing it is they are saying like we have about like for 100 million on Bitcoin. The only thing is that they want people to know that they are buying. They just FOMO everybody,
well,
but they already got a lot of Bitcoins, right?
yeah. But see, here's the point. Like, here, you ready? Let me explain to you what BlackRock really wants, right? Vanguard, BlackRock, and the big boys, right? They don't care about Bitcoin. Okay, everyone's caught up in this. You ever see, like, they show you what you want to hear, but they never tell you what they're doing. What they're really doing is, right, and I'm telling you right now, it is not about buying Bitcoin. Okay, all they want to do is get paid for the transaction. They want the transaction fee. This is not about crypto. This is not about Bitcoin. This is about every time you buy whatever you want to buy, you give us 10% on that. They don't care what you buy. They want 1%, 2%, 3% transaction fees. Do you know that USD Tether, okay, USDT, which is a stable coin, okay, it's a regular stable coin. All right, let me show you guys, because I don't think you guys, there's nobody educating you on the game. Like, everyone's like, you got to learn Warriors Rise. Let me teach you about the game, but no one's teaching you the game. Okay, here, USDT made how much in 2023? Tether's billions are growing fast, but it reports profits, right? Tether did say in BDO
Wait,
certificate, here you go.
CNBC.
Yeah, 850 million in Q2, bringing them to 3.3 billion. Okay, here. Tether estimates around 1.6 billion in excess reserves, right? Now, if you understand what this means is, think about what they're doing as far as like building in fees, right? They're making billions in fees, right? BlackRock doesn't care about Bitcoin. What BlackRock wants to do, and then why they're teaming up with USDC, why they're trying to take down Tether, is because they want to do the transactions. They want to use their own coin, right, to make all the transactions. They don't want Tether, right? Tether made more money than the biggest hedge fund in America. Tether made more money than BlackRock. I think it was like 3 times. I think Tether made 3 times the amount of money that BlackRock did in a year. So why would BlackRock care about Bitcoin when all they want is transaction fees? They don't care about Bitcoin. They just want to get paid for your transactions. Why do you think the ETFs exist? The ETFs exist because they have 46% of the people in America are what we call baby boomers. Okay. And baby boomers control 44% of the wealth in America, but they won't invest into crypto unless it's secure and safe, which means, someone hasn't taught them how to simply go get a MetaMask and buy their own Bitcoin. I mean, there's everywhere I go in a gas station, there's a Bitcoin ATM. I go to Walmart, Bitcoin ATM. They can buy Bitcoin anywhere. But when you go to buy Bitcoin, one thing I notice is when you buy it at ATM, they're charging you like, 20% on your buy, right? So they're ripping you off with ATM. So everyone's ripping everyone off when they want to buy crypto. When all a guy has to do is simply download a MetaMask and go buy Bitcoin off the open market or go to talk to a miner. The question I have is, why are we buying Bitcoin from exchanges? Why are we not buying it from a miner? Why are we not just going to the miner saying, hey man, let's get some money I want to buy from you. If I like buying milk, right? We buy milk from Walgreens, Walmart. Why don't we just buy from the farm? The problem is we need direct access to the miners, and then we'll be buying it at the bottom. So baby boomers won't invest into the market because Bitcoin, it has to be secure and they don't want to pay the fees. But now they have their banks where you can go buy Bitcoin and it's part of an ETF, which is the lingo that they understand. ETF, that's like my bonds. Okay, my ROI. Ooh, I get my, they get all that basics. So now they're buying the ETFs because it's safe and secure. But you know who's making the fees? BlackRock. BlackRock had the biggest fees, right? So here, go back here, go down here. Now that you guys are understanding, it's about fees, right? So how much are fees on BTC ETF, right? So here, Bitwise, right? 0.2% fee. ARC has a 0.21%. Fidelity 0.2, right? You got to understand that, when you make these fees here, they're making all their money on a 25% of a percent. US Tether makes 1% to 2% per transaction. So if you own the transactions on the trading platforms for USDC, you will make 2 to 3%. That literally is 15 times the amount that they're making on their ETFs. This is just the beginning, right? They just want to get paid. They just want to do a transaction. That's all they want to do, right? They just want transactions. They don't care about Bitcoin. They don't care what it does. If Bitcoin goes to zero, they'll just sell you another crypto. All they want to do is be able to sell you what you want to buy. So if there's 42% of America's money sitting in baby boomers accounts and they want to buy Bitcoin, then so be it. They're not even giving them Bitcoin. They're giving them an ETF. It's like a bond, right? So that's why we're not seeing the movement of Bitcoin. Now, if all these baby boomers would have went out and actually been educated or understood anything instead of just sitting around like 60-year-old people that don't know anything and said, oh, you know what? I'm going to take 100,000 and buy my own Bitcoin at 20,000. They would already have doubled their money already. They'd double their cash already. We'd have a foundation, and in 10 years, their 100,000 would be worth $1 million. But because they're so brainwashed by their banks, by commercials, by all the bullshit, they're helpless people. That's the problem. They're helpless. I don't know if you ever talk to these people, but they're helpless. People are helpless. They're brainwashed. They don't know how to do the basics. Crypto is supposed to free the people, but they can't free themselves. Okay? I'm a Jew. I watch a bunch of my Jew people walk themselves to death. I get it. People can't free themselves. Okay? That's the bottom line. Until we teach and educate people how to do it, it's not going to happen. But now these people, all they want to do is make money. They just want fees, right? They don't care about anything about Bitcoin. They just want to sell you whatever the hell you're selling. Now, as big as crypto, like, is is crypto a good investment? Yeah, the technology is great, but it's where we're going to use it for, right? Bitcoin doesn't have a real purpose right now. But we were very close to freeing the people in one swift move. If the baby boomers would have listened to their 35-year-old children and bought Bitcoin when it was $15,000, $20,000, if they would put 100,000 in there, we'd have our market cap would be like $7 trillion to 20, and we would be locked in at Bitcoin at 100,000 right now, and they would be all millionaires in America. And now they could just sit there and just siphon off 10% every, you know, quarter to live on, and the rest of the world would be accepting it, and we'd see mass adoption. But we failed to educate the people.
Yeah.
That's the point, right? So, but all this does here is give them an option to buy somewhere else and eventually grow into security. And then what happened was, you remember, so back in the day when you used to buy stocks, right? You had to pay a broker. You paid them $20 per trade, and then you gave them 2% per trade that you made, or 10%. Now they started where, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you could make your own trade for $4, and then you didn't even pay a fee. So we got rid of the fee. So all that's happening is crypto is the same thing that happened in stocks. It has to go through the transaction of, they charge you to buy, they charge you a fee, they charge you to do it, and then eventually people go, well, I don't want to pay this anymore. And then they just start buying crypto themselves. Now, how long is that going to take? 10 years, 5 years, 20 years? We don't know. But that's the whole thing, is how fast is this technology going to expand before everybody else, right? And that's where we're at, bro. But the reality is, when you understand the game, you know what really is happening here. They need to get their fees. So that's what all this is all about. They need to make money on their fees. And if they're making money on their fees, then they're happy. And that's where they're going to grow and get to the next level. And that's really what it comes down to. But we failed to break out of that situation because we didn't teach and educate enough people to actually like grow in that position to get to, to buy our own stuff and become better investors. Right. So we just we didn't do what we had to do to develop and grow, and now that's where we're at. We're in this scenario. But this is why I'm trying to tell you, everybody has to understand, you're very early to this party, but you have to understand how it works. They're not going to buy Bitcoin. They're going to buy miners. They're going to mine Bitcoin, and then they're going to sell it for what they want. If they own Bitcoin, right, they dictate the price. So if they're mining Bitcoin, they can turn around and say, well, we're not selling any more. When everyone says, well, the halving's coming, there's less Bitcoin. Okay, you think they're going to keep mining Bitcoin. The only difference is they're not going to sell the Bitcoin on the market. They're going to say, no, our Bitcoin's 100,000. Right? If it's 50,000 on the market, it's 100,000 for the miner. They dictate the price, just like they dictate the price when they buy a neighborhood, right? When they buy things, right? This is why you ever hear Michael Saylor talk, and he's like, I'm putting all these millions in here because it's like buying Park Place. What he sees and understands is that eventually Bitcoin will make its own price, because there's only so much land in Manhattan, and if you own the best land on Boardwalk, like Monopoly, if you own the best land, you can charge whatever you want for it. So his concept is, in 15, 20 years, if we own the best land, we can charge whatever we want for it, because once they stop making it, you can't tell me how much my Bitcoin's worth, because it's worth what I will sell it. You understand? So Michael Saylor is kind of on the other side of it with his craziness. He's seeing the future, but he's also seeing it 20 years down the road, right? And everyone's listening to the guy going, yeah, we're going to get rich this year. No, it's not this year. It's 20 years down the road. So this is why you need to learn how to compound money right now as a lower level earner. You have to buy the bottoms, sell the tops, and you have to keep taking that profit. You need to compound like every big company did their entire career, and you need to accumulate more coins for less money, so that when it finally reaches its point where there's enough money that you can siphon off 5 to 10% every month and create a living for yourself, right? This is an investment, man. This is what this is, guys. So that's kind of how it all goes in there, man. So that's a breakdown of crypto. So that we'll put out there and we'll keep out there, man. But that's what it is, man. So nothing changes in it. You have to understand where you stand. This is just a technology. It's all about investing. They're not going to change their style. They're not going to FOMO in. The difference between 2021 is that you had a bunch of inexperienced people putting all their money in crypto. 2024, you have a bunch of banks that have professional traders who are not FOMOing in, who are thinking how to get Bitcoin better. So if I was at BlackRock and I called them up tomorrow and I said, hey, how do you plan on getting Bitcoin? And all of them say, well, we're going to let the price go down. I'll say, let me talk to the boss. Let me talk to Larry, whoever. Let's go ahead and buy it let's go buy some miners. Why are we buying that full price? We can mine it for 16,000 and put it in there. And I'm sure they already thought of this. You know what I mean? And if they didn't, then they need to send me 20% of it because that's the ideal. So I'm just saying, man. BlackRock, if you didn't think of it, don't forget where you got the ideal, and it's going to be a 10% tax towards me. Don't forget your boy. All right. So that's how they would do it, man. I'm just telling you guys, they're not FOMOing in. So we're gonna see the same market happen. The only difference between 2021 and 2022 is the reality that 2022 was the market resetting. 2023 was an example of what a real crypto market is. And 2024 will repeat the same process because we're in the same predicament. There's not any more money. There's not anything else going on. The only thing that's changing is people are becoming more educated and they're realizing that they don't make money in crypto, they lose it more than they win. So now they're trying to figure out how to do it. And this is why we have the Trading Academy to teach people that the only way to make money in crypto is not to hodl. And every influencer that ever existed in the beginning was like, hodl, hodl. And everyone has seen their money go up and down and up and down. And they just become bag holders. The only way to make money in crypto is buy the bottom, sell the top. It's the only way to make money in any investment. Buy cheap, sell high. Buy cheap, sell high. The best thing about crypto is it allows us to sell high and make money when it goes down, which is literally more than it goes up. So at the end of the day, if you don't understand how to trade, you're not making the most money out of this investment. When this investment turns into a real project in 5 years, then you can hold the project and just, siphon off profits when it continues to go up. But you can't take profits if something goes up and down. That's why hodling doesn't work, guys. All right, so that's kind of like the end, man. Appreciate you, man. Let me close out this Twitter, and we'll talk some more on Discord, guys. But if you have any questions, send me a Gmail at VC Crypto Nation. The name of the channel, VC Crypto Nation at Gmail. And make sure if you're in the USA, you send a text message or a cell phone number for a text message. I will not respond to you via WhatsApp, TikTok, fake accounts, right? I only talk via email, one email, vccryptonation at Gmail, and I only talk on cell phones. If you don't talk to me, then it is not me because I will call you personally to talk to you if you have any questions. If they refuse to talk on the phone, that's a clear sign that it's not me. It's my boys out there in Bangladesh. Shout out to them boys in Bangladesh. Appreciate you guys holding it up, man. Good luck. God bless, boys. Welcome to VC Crypto.